Hello, my name is Diana, and I'm a 40-year-old woman. The past 5 years have been quite eventful, and I recently experienced what karmic justice truly feels like. After seeing many stories shared here, I decided it was time to share mine. My story begins with my ex-husband, Chase. We met in college and dated for about 2 years. Our plan was to move in together after graduation and wait a few more years before getting married. However, I became pregnant almost immediately after we moved in together. Neither of us wanted to terminate the pregnancy, so we adjusted our life plans and welcomed our beautiful baby girl, Serena. Serena was the light of my life. She was incredibly smart, charming, and full of energy. She loved socializing and always had an abundance of energy, which she often expended by helping me around the house. While Serena was a joy to be around, Chase and I began to have issues. Since her birth, Chase rarely stayed home to help with Serena. He barely had a relationship with her, and we frequently fought about it. His primary concern was always money and how it was being spent. We both had well-paying jobs and were financially stable, always up to date on our bills with some money left over each month. I put this extra money into a savings account for Serena's future, like her college fund. Chase was upset that he couldn't spend this money and often complained, despite having his own monthly allowance. Things improved slightly when Chase got a promotion. I let him keep his extra money to avoid arguments, and with this financial boost, he started paying more attention to Serena. It angered me that money was the motivator, but it was better than him ignoring her completely. For the next 10 years, life seemed to improve. Chase and I got along better, and Serena blossomed into a beautiful young girl. I was nervous about her teenage years, but something much worse happened. My once lively and energetic daughter became lethargic, unable to stay awake for more than 3 to 4 hours at a time. Her grades, which were always A's, started slipping to C's. I tried talking to her, but she insisted everything was fine. The breaking point came when her teachers called, concerned that Serena was sleeping in class and struggling to stay awake. I sat her down, and she admitted that she felt fuzzy in her head and couldn't stay awake without experiencing severe headaches. Deeply worried, I shared my concerns with Chase that night. "Chase, I think something is really wrong with Serena," I said. "What do you mean?" he replied. "She's getting paler and weaker by the day. She doesn't have a temperature, but even the smallest tasks exhaust her. I asked her to tidy up her room, and she fell asleep immediately after, waking only for dinner. She's also sleeping in class and constantly late. Maybe she's just tired from the day," Chase suggested. "No, it's more than that. She's stuck in a constant state of lethargy. I've spoken to her, and she says she feels drowsy all the time and doesn't know how to cope." "She's probably just going through puberty," he shrugged. "I don't think this is puberty. We need to take her to a doctor," I insisted. "That's unnecessary. It'll cost a lot of money just for the doctor to tell us it's normal teenage stuff. What's more important, money or our daughter? We have health insurance, and I'll cover whatever else is needed." "Fine, but the money's coming out of your pocket," he conceded. I couldn't believe Chase was so concerned about the cost when our daughter's health was at stake. Trusting my instincts, I took Serena to the doctor the next morning despite her protests. She was honest with the doctor about her symptoms. The doctor ordered blood work and scheduled an MRI to get to the root of the problem. Over the next few weeks, Serena and I were in and out of the hospital constantly, learning little about her condition. With each visit, the tests became more intense, and the atmosphere grew more tense and panicked. My stomach churned with anxiety, sensing that something was gravely wrong, but I knew I had to stay strong for Serena. Chase was no help during this time. He only berated me for wasting time and money. I learned to tune out his rants. Finally, after another round of blood work and scans, the doctor informed us that he would call me in the evening with the results. I spent the day pacing, waiting anxiously for the call. When it finally came, nothing could have prepared me for the shock. The doctor revealed that Serena had an early stage of brain cancer, and we were fortunate to have detected it early. It felt like ice water had been poured over me. I listened to the doctor in a daze and thanked him for his care. Chase knew I had received the call and decided to ask me about it, tauntingly. What happened? What did the doctor say? Did you waste a bunch of money like I told you? Serena has a tumor in her brain, and it's cancerous, I replied. What? My poor baby. She's been suffering for so long. How will I even break this news to her? Wait, how far along is the cancer? Thankfully, it's still very treatable. She'll need surgery and chemotherapy. Thank God I took her issues seriously, right? So we're going through with the treatments for her then. What kind of question is that? Of course we are. I'm not going to let my daughter die. That's one more expense we have to shoulder now. I always told her not to be on her phone all the time. Are you serious right now? Are you really valuing money over our daughter? Look, I get that you're being overly emotional about this, but at some point you're going to have to think logically about how this will affect us. What are you talking about? How am I not supposed to be emotional? This is our child. We've watched her grow up and been with her through every up and down. How can you be so emotionless? It's not that deep. Yes, I feel sad too. I don't think Serena deserves to go through this, but really, we're already struggling as a family, and the costs of her treatments will be very hard for us to handle. Great. So what do you propose we do? Not give our daughter the life-saving treatment she needs. Don't try to make me into a bad person here. Oh, believe me, you're doing that all on your own. You want to know how we could work around the cost of her treatments. For starters, you can stop eating out for lunch every day. Stop going on long drives in that gas-guzzling car of yours. Stop going out to drink with your work buddies every other day. Why are you behaving as if our daughter is the issue here rather than you? You're clearly deranged. Even if I stopped all of that, it would never cost as much as Serena's treatments, and you know it. Money saved is better than money spent, no matter how small the amount. That's a stupid thing to say. You know what? We were already struggling to begin with, and now you're asking me to give up the only things that were keeping me sane. I don't want to do this anymore. What are you talking about? It's way too expensive to look after Serena, and I don't want to be destitute. I'm just going to leave. I'll start the filing process for divorce tomorrow, and you'll get the papers whenever you do. You can't just leave me like that. Since you know just how to save money, I'm sure you'll figure it out all on your own. I'm going to go now. Bye. Chase took a packed suitcase from his wardrobe and left the house. I could barely process what I had been told about Serena, let alone my husband leaving me because he felt he deserved to spend all his money on himself. He didn't hesitate to put himself first, showing no empathy for Serena or concern for how I was coping. I cried myself to sleep that night, and when I woke up the next day, I hoped that everything had been a terrible dream, but it wasn't. Despite Chase's behavior, I thought it would be better for Serena to have him around, especially since I had no idea how to break the news of our impending divorce to her. So I called Chase, hoping to convince him to stay. He didn't pick up the first 3 times, but on the 4th try he answered. "Oh, thank God you picked up," I exclaimed. "What do you want?" he replied coldly. "Look, I'm sorry if I did or said anything wrong. I get that we were both dealing with a lot. Learning that your daughter has cancer is a big deal, and everyone processes things differently." "What are you saying?" he asked. "What I'm trying to say is that I understand you must have been overwhelmed. I probably didn't make it easier by insinuating that you were selfish. Please don't leave Serena and me. Serena wants to see you and is scared you left because of her." First of all, I did leave because of her. Well, to be more precise, because of her upcoming expenses. The cancer news was just the final nail in the coffin. I didn't want to be more destitute than we already were. I was tired of constantly calculating how much I could spend. "Wow, so you just wanted to leave because you were selfish," I said, incredulous. "You can call me whatever you want, but I'm just doing what's best for myself. Do you really feel nothing for your daughter? How can you leave at the most crucial moment of her life without batting an eye? I get it. What Serena's going through is tragic, but I can't be there to support all of us anymore. I can't take any more financial strain, and that's it. What if Serena doesn't make it? Or what if the treatments continue for years? Who's going to finance all of that? You didn't even stop to think of things that way. How dare you believe that Serena won't make it? Even if she didn't, at least the guilt of not having tried enough wouldn't exist. Isn't that something you want? No thanks. I don't want to give up my comfort just to be there for no results. I hope you know that you're a monster. I hope nothing but the absolute worst for you. Great. The divorce papers shall reach you in a day or two. Please don't contact me again. Bye. I was appalled. I didn't know what to think. I felt completely numb. How could someone be so careless as to leave their daughter when she had just been diagnosed with cancer? I wanted to cry, not only because my relationship with Chase was over for such a selfish reason, but also because I didn't know how to tell Serena why her father left. I realized that I needed to steel myself and be strong for her. She was already going through so much. The last thing she needed was to see her mother break down. Over the course of the next year, Chase and I got legally divorced. I found out through social media that he married another woman immediately after our divorce was finalized. That sent me down an entirely new spiral, making me feel even more worthless than before. But again, I tamped down my emotions because I needed to stay strong for my little girl. I couldn't keep the reason for Chase's absence from Serena for long. I made excuses for the first few months, which was somewhat easier since she was almost always hospitalized. But eventually, I realized I was only hurting her by not telling her the truth. When I finally told her, she was heartbroken but eventually got through it. I stayed by her side throughout, letting her cry for as long as she needed. Watching her process her emotions helped me cope with mine. Serena underwent extensive surgery and chemotherapy. She lost all her hair and a significant amount of weight, but she remained happy, and that was all that mattered. The next 2 years were spent with frequent hospital visits for checkups and routine scans. Finally, 3 years after being diagnosed, my baby girl was declared cancer-free. It was a truly momentous occasion for us, so we hosted a big party to celebrate with everyone who had supported us, including my parents, Serena's teachers and classmates, our neighbors, and even Chase's parents. Chase's parents had been incredibly supportive, despite the circumstances. When they learned about our divorce, they were disgusted by their son's behavior and disowned him. They made it a point to come over and help in any way they could. I am truly grateful for them. After my baby girl turned 18, she decided to take a gap year to spend quality time with me, considering the last few years had been spent stressing over her cancer. We were finally doing well in every aspect of life, and I was genuinely beginning to feel good. But of course, something had to happen. One day, I received a call from an unknown number. For some reason, I picked it up. Hello. Hi, Diana. It's Chase here. How did you get my number? Well, I had to look around for it, but I found it eventually. Did you stalk me? No, look, I just wanted to check in on you and Serena. Why all of a sudden? I just miss both of you. Right. And it took you 5 years to reach out to us? I know I was horrible for what I did. I don't think horrible is a strong enough word to describe abandoning us right after my daughter got diagnosed with cancer, all because you were a selfish jerk. I see you're still holding onto that grudge. I'm sorry for it all, by the way. I'm a changed man now. I highly doubt that. Could you please just tell me how Serena's doing, at least? Why should I? You didn't care before, so I don't see why I should tell you anything. Look, you either tell me, or I'll pull some strings and find out myself. Serena's doing fine, so am I. How were you able to finance everything for her? Why is that any of your concern? Look, I feel guilty enough for what I did. At least let me feel better knowing how you managed to get through it all. My parents helped, and so did yours. Our neighbors and Serena's school also helped in every way they could. Now that I think about it, maybe it was a good thing that you left. Yikes. But you're right, I've been nothing but miserable since I left. I married this woman who was filthy rich, quit my job, and became a stay-at-home husband. How was that miserable for you? Wasn't that everything you ever wanted? Sure, but she never failed to rub her wealth in my face. One day, I snapped at her, and she decided to leave me. Now I'm going to be homeless in a week and have nowhere to turn. So, you're the reason for your own misery. That's not surprising. Why are you telling me all this anyway? I just wanted to ask if you could send me some money just for the next few months until I can get back on my feet. I would ask my parents, but they refused to speak to me. Ha, you cannot be serious, Chase. You have some nerve to stalk me, find my number, threaten me with more stalking to find out about how we're doing, and then ask me for money after you abandoned your family when they were at their lowest. You don't have to keep throwing my mistakes in my face. I won't be able to help you in any way. Why? I promise I'll be better. I'll make up for it in any way that I can. Oh, I would love to help you, but it's too expensive to look after you. And I've gotten too used to my comforts. I can't imagine giving that up. You're right. Good luck with your future. Do me a favor and lose my number because I never want to hear from you again. If you contact me again, I will file a restraining order against you. Stay out of mine and Serena's lives for good, just as you intended when you left. Bye. Nothing felt better than throwing Chase's words back at him. Did I feel bad for his situation? Absolutely not. He left Serena and me when we were at our lowest, all because of his selfish needs. I saw no reason to help him and was shocked at his audacity to come crawling back. I blocked his number because I wanted nothing to do with him. I later found out through his parents that he had tried to contact them for help, but they wanted nothing to do with him either. They were appalled at his audacity and had a strong word with him, telling him he was a disappointment to them. He had burned all bridges just to live the comfortable life he wanted. I didn't keep up with what happened to Chase after that. His ex-wife reached out to me, asking if he had contacted me. I told her he did, and she shared that she couldn't understand how I had put up with him before because he was beyond a handful. We shared a few messages about how Chase was a jerk and then moved on. I didn't hide the fact that Chase had contacted me from Serena. She was relieved that I did not fall for whatever his plan was and stood my ground. I asked her if she wanted to get in contact with him, as he was still her father and she was entitled to feel however she wanted about him. Serena assured me she wanted nothing to do with Chase, especially after the heartbreak she suffered in the middle of her treatments when she found out he was never coming back. Things resumed back to normal in our lives after that. Somehow, knowing that Chase was living miserably added a spring to my step. It felt like a resolution to our tragic past. Serena felt the same way, and we began talking more openly about him. We've both decided it's time to go to therapy and deal with our issues. I'm excited to see where life takes us from here. I'm grateful for the second chance I've been given with my daughter. As long as I get to be with her until the end of my time, nothing else matters.